Hello and welcome to the Minds of the Frontline podcast. I'm Jeff Lassers, one of your hosts, and I'm a professional firefighter, paramedic, educator, and content creator. My co-host today is Mike Mattern, a firefighter, paramedic, and peer support team expert. In this episode, we take a closer look at the Frontline Strong Together 5 Crisis and Resource Line. The FST5 program is a statewide support system for Michigan's frontline workers and their families. Wayne State University administers the program with grant funding from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, working to strengthen the health, resilience, and well-being of our frontline communities. Many Michiganders in frontline professions are familiar with the FST5 program and understand that it provides support. What is less clear is what the call line actually is. Who answers the phone? And what happens after someone makes the call? The FST5 Crisis and Resource Line is not simply a crisis hotline, and it is not limited to emergency situations. It serves as the access point into the broader FST5 system. The line operates in partnership with Common Ground in Oakland County. Calls are answered by Michigan-based personnel, not a national call center, and callers are not routed through an automated system. The individuals answering the phone are current or former first responders with at least 10 years of field experience. Before ever taking calls, they complete extensive preparation, including formal crisis intervention training and additional FST5 training. As a result, callers speak with someone familiar with the work, the culture, and the challenges responders and their families face. People make the call for a wide range of reasons. Some calls involve acute crises, but many do not. Responders may call after a difficult incident, when they are struggling with stress, sleep, or behavioral changes, or when they are just unsure how to talk with their family about what they have experienced. Others are seeking guidance, help locating a clinician, or a connection to peer support. The line is also available for concerns that extend beyond the immediate stresses of the job. Callers may reach out when everyday pressures begin to affect their well-being, such as financial strain, family challenges, child or elder care needs, or other situations where they are unsure where to turn. The line specializes in assisting with mental and behavioral health concerns at any level. When a need falls outside of that scope, the call takers can connect the caller to a person, pathway, or organization that can provide the appropriate assistance. The FST5 program and its crisis and resource line are also accessible to immediate family members who can contact the line directly without waiting for the responder to initiate the call. Spouses, partners, parents, and other household members can reach out for support for themselves, for concerns about a responder, or for someone else in the home who needs help, even if that person is not a first responder. The line offers families guidance, education, and help connecting to suitable resources and treatment options. The goal is to support the entire household, not just the individual responder. Joining us in the conversation today are Jim Peyton and Ryan Kilyanek. Jim Peyton serves as the manager of the FST5 Crisis and Resource Line. He is a retired Detroit firefighter and paramedic and now oversees the day-to-day operations of the line. Ryan Kilyanek serves as the supervisor for the line. He has a background in corrections, frontline, and behavioral health work, and helps lead the call center staff who answer the calls and guide callers toward appropriate next steps and resources. Together, they provide both operational and practical perspectives on how the line functions and what callers actually experience when they reach out. During this episode, we discuss the purpose of the line, who should consider calling, and what callers can expect when they make contact. We talk about how confidentiality is handled, how needs are assessed, and how callers are connected to peer support, clinicians, education, and other resources. We also address common misconceptions about the service, when it may be appropriate to call, and how the line supports responders, families, and agencies all across Michigan. Remember, if you or someone you know needs help, call 1-833-34-STRONG. Or go to fst5.org for more information and explore our free training opportunities. Please follow us on social media and enjoy the show.
Good morning, gentlemen. How
Morning,
are you?
everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's everybody feeling?
Fantastic. How you going?
Perfect.
Hanging in there. That's all we can ask.
People
Perfect.
don't know is that this is being recorded on the Monday after the Super Bowl.
We made it in.
Everybody made it here on time. Everybody's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Well,
all
bushy-tailed,
good.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
bright-eyed.
Okay. Fair enough. So let's get kicked off here. Jim Peyton, who are you? What do you do? And where do you do it?
Jim Peyton, I'm the manager of the crisis resource line for Frontline Strong. I was a firefighter-paramedic for 25 years with most of my career spent in the city of Detroit.
Awesome. That's great. And sir, why don't you introduce yourself, Ryan?
My name is Ryan Kilyanek. I am the supervisor on the Frontline Strong Crisis Resource Line. My background is in juvenile justice and mental health. And in addition to that, I'm also, at almost 50, a graduate student in counseling and therapy. So,
right on,
all
man.
right.
You're a busy
Perfect.
fella in that the second life, they call that.
Second tier.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
the next set of chapters, and the older human beings go. I think we're going to have lots of good chapters, and that's a good thing. So I want to get a little bit more background on what the Frontline Strong Crisis and Resource Line is, and how it's the same related to Frontline Strong Together 5, and how it's its own thing at the same time, and how these two entities, although we're different entities, are symbiotic.
Well, there's a lot of moving pieces to the program, and there's two big teams working together as one. With our side, you have first responders that are answering the phone. These are first responders that have been at least 10 years out in the field, and they've gone through some of the things that first responders already experienced. They're dealing with their own mental health issues, and they want to help other first responders because they've been there, which is important because it's important that the person on the other end of the line understands what you're going through. And then you have Wayne State as our symbiotic partner. They're in the background. They're running peer support teams. They're helping with get this thing out to the first responders so everybody understands it's there and it's available for them to use.
That's amazing. Now I want to get from you, Ryan, I want to understand a little bit more about what you do for the crisis line and how you would describe it in your words.
I'm the supervisor. So ultimately, my goal is to take as much off Jim's plate as I can. But I think as one of the crucial things about the call line itself is the fact that there's a relatability factor for the people who are answering the calls to the callers. It may not necessarily be relatability of like a husband or a spouse or a wife, but they may be able to at least relate to the job that the person is doing that they're speaking of. We go through extensive amounts of training that myself and Jim are always revamping and always revising with research, with whatever else we can, new data that comes available. So
I think it's important when he's talking about the training, they go through a normal CIT training, which is crisis intervention training, 96 hours of crisis intervention training, and then they go through Frontline Strong training. And you're going to have paramedics, firefighters, police officers all answering the phone. With that, a firefighter knows what a firefighter does, but a firefighter understands kind of what a police officer does. But this training, it's another 80 plus hours that they do, familiarizes them with each one of these different first responder units so they know exactly what they're going through and exactly what each type of first responder deals with on a daily basis.
So I just want to make it clear that Frontline Strong Together 5 is a grant-funded program. The fiduciary is Wayne State University, the holder of the grant, and they also help the operational setup of being culturally competent clinicians, helping us create and coordinate peer support team structures, education, training, anything we can need. Really the resource part of the crisis and resource line, whereas the line that you guys operate is like a dispatch center of what do y'all need? Anything personal, whether it's your personal finances, stress, anxiety, your kids, your husband, your wife, your mom, childcare issues that are causing you, literally anything, but then also, hey, where can I get more information about Frontline Strong for training? So it's really a central nervous system that works symbiotically with Frontline Strong. Is that, would you say, is accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. I mean, like you said, we bridge the gap between and get them to the resources that they need. And you made a good point earlier, Mike, when you said when they call, it's not just we give you a resource and you're done. We've got your back through the whole process of this. And you can return a call, you can call back and maybe something didn't work for you, or maybe you need something else, or you need more assistance. We can do that for you. You're not alone. That's the biggest thing. You're coming into a group of people, a group of your brothers and sisters that are going to help you through this entire thing that you're going through.
And I think a key point, though, like you said, Jim, is that you're not alone, but the caller is in control through the whole process. They can start, stop, do whatever. They're not alone, but they're in control at the same time.
And one thing, while we're on it, I'd like to point out, the people that are listening, you got the two people here who run this thing. Talk about the confidentiality of the line.
We make sure when we started this program, we wanted to make sure that your anonymity is protected from start to finish. The state of Michigan themselves can't even see who's calling these lines. None of your information goes anywhere. Nobody will be able to find out who you called. It will not be reported to anybody. And like Ryan stated, you are in control. A lot of people have that misconception that when they call something like this, that they start a process, and that process just goes and they're not in control anymore. You are in control from the start of the phone call to the end of the phone call through the entirety of this process. You can stop, start, finish, do whatever you want.
We are not saving your information.
No.
I mean, we all know that because we know you guys, we've been around it, but I really want to hit that home because, that confidentiality is one of the biggest things that really people worry about, One of the other things that people worry about, especially when I'm talking to them about either Frontline Strong or I'm giving them a number for the call line, they always go, well, what can I call them for? Does this rise to the level of should I call the call line, right? So kind of talk about that. What are some of the situations or concerns that really lead people to call the call line?
I think the most important thing to understand is, whatever issue that you've got is your issue. That's what you need to call for. Nobody's judging you on why you called. Nothing is too small. So whatever you need at that time in your life, whether it's just somebody to listen because nobody listens or you don't have anybody to talk to, you've got some stuff that you're afraid to share with your friends because you're going through something right now. Maybe you just had a bad night. Maybe you're having struggles at home. Maybe you're having, like you stated before, financial issues or finding daycare, or just want somebody to listen and not judge and understand what you're going through and just be that person that you can, like a sounding board. There is no small reason to call. There's no such thing. You can call for whatever you need. And like we stated before, your family can call because sometimes the first responder's going through something and they don't know. You don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. Your family sees it. So the husband, the kids, you have a grandmother that calls about her grandson who's a police officer. We help the grandmother out and try to assist her with the grandson.
Do you see more people calling for a crisis, or do you see more people calling for like what you're talking about, the run-of-the-mill life issues that people run into, or them seeing their first responders struggling?
I think it's somewhat hard to call the calls a crisis, as a lot of times part of the job is to always remain in control. So that their definition of a crisis might be a little different than the average. There's a lot of resource calls, a lot of just generic support calls like, hey, you know what, I'm going home and I really don't know how to talk about what I've seen today with my spouse. In my opinion, that's a great reason to call, because if your spouse isn't even related into the field, or your partner, they're not going to know how to relate to, say, you just witnessed a horrible car accident where there were 2 people killed, or say you were trying to cut somebody down who was trying to commit suicide. You can't go home necessarily and tell your wife, who's an accountant or in HR or something of that nature. You can't go home and tell her that. I mean, this is a perfect outlet for it. Hey, here's what I had to do. I'm driving home 15 minutes, and I'm going to chop it up with these guys for a few minutes.
What does that look like? Say I'm at the edge. I'm right there, right? I've got the suicidal ideations. I'm heading that way, or I'm already there. What does that phone call look like?
It's a tough one because I don't think any two are going to be the same, but I think that you're going to have to start with realizing how close they are to it, how their intentions are. What is their time frames? What are some buffers for them? Kids and family can be one. It could be a dog. Well, the key is going to figure out where they are in the process, how close they are to the process. And what I mean by that is like time frame. Like, first responder, there's a good chance there's a firearm. And unfortunately, one of the sad things is that there's also often a lot of prescription drugs available as well. And in this day and age, though, it is acceptable to drink excessively socially. And you mix that in with suicidal ideations, as you said, along with benzodiazepine or, opiate medication for pain and a firearm. We have a bad mix. But I think the call's going to ultimately break down to where they're at in the process, how close they are to it. And I don't want to say how serious, but what's the timeline like for them? Is it, well, I'm not going to do this because my wife's home or my spouse is there or my father's in town.
The people that receive those calls are trained to prioritize I don't want to say the sincerity, but the priority of that based on what they're hearing. They're able to say, is this person like literally in the moment about to do this? Or are these fleeting thoughts at the moment? Is it ideation? There's a whole scale of things that could be going on here. Yeah. And those people are trained to kind of receive that like, okay,
yes,
we're in a fill in the blank situation. Here's what we need to do.
Yeah, they analyze the caller for a couple different things like motive, plan, intention. Yeah. And then a lot of people don't understand that with suicidal ideation or suicidal thought, it's a very small window. Typically, it's not a long, drawn-out, thought-out process. It is a very short period of time. And we have this saying that if you're talking, you're not dying. And we keep you talking. Yep. And in our time, we've had several high-acuity calls. We were pretty much able to talk every one of them down. When you get to a hole that's that dark and you don't see a light in it, there is no light at the end of the tunnel, and you think it's just going to get worse and it's just time to give up. But we show you that there is a light there for you. We can pull you up out of there, and I was in that dark place, and people help me get out of that dark place. So there's always help there. And we assure them that it is there and that we've got you.
And I think that goes back to the training, though, that we have on the line, where our call takers aren't going to panic. They're professionals to the point of they're not going to hear someone's suicidal and they're going to, oh, God, what do we do? Panic. And that just goes to the extra training we do and the screening that we do of the call takers.
And then you guys can get them resources right
Absolutely.
away. That's another thing I want to let people know is by calling this, you've got access to the resources as well.
Yeah, we have the ability to call the resource and do like a warm handoff. Like, hey, we're talking to this individual. We've got him on the line right now. I'm going to transfer. I'm going to give you the
and
call.
that's to a clinician.
To a clinician.
So they could call and be talking to a clinician right then and there.
Bingo. Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
That's exactly what we want people to know. Thank you.
And that could be made by somebody on their behalf too. Like my wife could call for me. I'm the one having the issue. It's not like you got to be the person who's the first.
Yes.
No, that could be anybody in the chain of relation that could initiate these calls for anybody this is for.
We've had calls like that where
Quite a few.
the wife calls and the husband was going through some stuff. She got the husband to call with her, and once he realized he was talking to a first responder, we were able to get him to treatment.
Perfect.
So like an ambassador, really. Because you guys aren't the clinicians,
No.
but you understand what the clinicians need and the healthcare continuum and what is offered to these people in relation to what's available. And then you've had that lived experience on the front lines. So now you can kind of be an ambassador for anybody calling of like, what are you looking for? Got you. And hook them up with that.
And sometimes they don't know what they're looking for.
Right.
And with the experience that our people have and the training that they get, they can kind of point them in a direction. Like, this is possibly something that you need. Like, maybe he's going through PTSD and doesn't know what it is. I went through it for a long period of time. I had no idea. I just knew something was wrong.
So considering all of that, what do you guys see or assume that most people worry about that prevents them from making the call?
I think there's a couple things that their work will find out that'll be reported back to them. And they're also worried about the fact that once they call, they're going to start this chain of events that they can't stop. I think that's the biggest concerns that we see. That, and are they really talking to a first responder? We get a lot of callers that'll try to feel them out and try to verify that they're actually a first responder that they're talking to.
Kind of stress test the system. They'll see if it passes their sniff test.
Yes, sir.
I don't blame them. What do you think, Ryan?
I think Jim hit the nail on the head. I think, like I said, one of the big ones is just the stigma to admit that, hey, something's not right. I might not be 100% in control of what's going on with me. And like I said, for 8, 12, 16 hours, sometimes more, you have to be totally in control all the time. To call to a potential crisis line or something of that nature is, coming out of the comfort zone.
Good point. We use that in our training. First responders are in a job where they must remain in control at all times. Admitting that you have PTSD or you're struggling with something, you feel like you're losing control in a job where you can't do that. And then it's going to take that career away from you.
Can't display weakness. You're not supposed to.
No.
It's kind of a safe place on this call line where you can kind of put the shields down, take the armor off, and have a good conversation.
Big time.
You know, the way I think about it is like saying that for all these years, the dentist had a stigma, right? And we're all walking around with stinky, nasty teeth. And all of a sudden, there's a place I can call to find out, hey, I want to look into this, but, it's kind of like that. All you're doing is saying there's a healthcare continuum out there that can help me or somebody I'm calling on the behalf of. How do I do that for them? Because this is not obvious. It's not as easy as saying, hey, I got an itchy throat, call the doctor. Hey, I got a broken tooth, call the dentist. It's not that clear to most people, but in reality, it kind of is.
Well, like we talked about, sometimes you may feel like something's changed or something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. Somebody that you work with may be reporting to you that you're acting a specific way that's different than you were before. And you don't see it, you don't feel it, or you do feel something. Like when I was diagnosed with it, I just knew something was off. I didn't know what it was. But understanding that we're told to not display weakness, but not dealing with this situation is the weak part. It takes a strong man or woman to call and get the help and the assistance. You can still do your job. You can 100% still do your job. It's not going to take that away from you. And in the world we live in now, there's some change coming, and we see it. We still see some of the old ways, but we still see the change. And that change is great. It's going to help us crush the stigma that's out there.
The one thing I'm going to add from personal experience, I went through some stuff, and the day that I reached out for help, it felt like the weakest moment, right? Like you just talked about, right? I felt about 2 inches tall. But when you look back at it, the people that have done it, been there, called, all say the same thing. It felt like the biggest moment of weakness, but when you look back at it, it was actually your strongest moment mentally because you finally said, this isn't going to control me anymore. So when you reach out, you may feel like that, but I'm going to tell you in the long run, it's the first step of getting better. It's that strongest step you've ever made.
You feel like you're losing everything, but you know you're taking it back. You're taking your life back.
Exactly. Now, we've talked a lot about the first responders calling the line, but let's talk a little bit about who else can use a call center. Kind of talk about how the call center can work with the first responder and their families a little bit.
One of the best examples of that, we had a first responder call probably about our first couple months of being open. He's the rock for the family, right? He's the strong one, and his child was diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer. And this dude was destroyed. Like, he didn't know what to do. And he had nobody to reach out to. Like, he's trying to be strong for the wife, trying to be strong for the kid. He's trying to be that rock. That was the place that he could come and he could just let it go. And you just listen, let him talk. Don't interrupt him. Just let him talk and just be there for him.
And that's what I want people to understand is this isn't just for the first responder, right? This is for everybody. This is for the significant other. This is because we realize that it's not just the job that drags people down. What you just talked about is a perfect example of the stuff that's not even job related.
Or it's just that one more thing that you can't deal with.
Yes.
It's, you got the stress from work. You got some stressors at home.
You can only carry so much in that backpack.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice that you can use this for anything. Your kid might have ADHD, might have a learning disability. It's causing stress.
Right.
You don't know who to call. This is literally for your kid might call on your behalf.
Oh, yeah. We've had children call on behalf of their parents.
Yeah, mom and dad are fighting because dad's having issues because he's a first responder and the kid doesn't know what to do. He just wants to help. And like we talked about the grandmother who calls about her grandson. She calls like probably once every couple months and just trying to get the grandson help because she sees the change in him.
And one thing to consider with the family is a lot of times they're in the dark as to what goes on. And I don't tell my wife any old gory stories. I'll tell her funny stories.
Right. Oh yeah.
But I'm not telling. I'm not going to tell some stuff that she'd be like, "Why would you talk about that?"
Yeah.
The first responder family, the significant other, family members, friends, they need the support too because they know what we do for a living. They see it, especially this day and age. They see it way more than they used to. And they need the support because they're sending their loved one, and we don't think about that. We just go out and do the job, and we don't think about it. And when I remember like a couple times somebody in my family would say, but it's extremely dangerous. I don't like the fact that you do it. Well, I'm doing it. You're not the one doing it. Why does it bother you so much? But you don't think about that.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stress for the people who are at home that you don't
immense.
think. So I mean, it's a different stress set that we deal with. Life doesn't stop when we walk out the door at 8 a.m. You know what I mean? And
right.
So that's a great point to bring up about resources available for them too.
Yeah, after I got help with everything, I actually ended up apologizing to my mom for all those years. Like, I dismissed you every time. And that was wrong to do because I'm your son. You're concerned. You're allowed to be concerned about me.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, as we close out today, what is one message you want people listening to take home about the Frontline Strong Crisis and Resource Center?
1, that it's there. 2, that it's confidential. And 3, that it's staffed by people who understand and can relate to you.
That's
Perfect.
pretty simple. I like that. Clean and easy. That's
right.
what we like.
Yeah, I just want to get out that we're here to destroy the stigma. We've created it. We're the ones doing the damage to each other. We call each other brother and sister, but we don't look out for each other when it comes to mental health. And that's on us. And we're here to change that. We need to care for the first responder, like when they get injured in the field and we're there for them. We go to the hospital and we help them out. We help them with everything. It needs to be the same for mental health issues because this is an injury. They can call it whatever they want, but this is an injury from the job that you do. And your brothers and sisters, if they're your brothers and sisters, and that's a term of respect that we use for them because they're family, we need to be the ones looking out, and that's who's doing this now.
Great words.
Perfect.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for taking the time and coming out.
Thank you for listening to the Minds on the Frontline podcast. We have more great content coming out soon. Please check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. And make sure to like and subscribe to all Minds on the Frontline podcast social media channels. Thank you, and have a great day.